What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you more news on Marvels Wolverine. That's right, the information just keeps pouring in. In the last video, we went over the possible storyline the game could be adapting from the comics, and today we got more info regarding the gameplay as well as other big budget Marvel titles in the works. Anyways, guys, before we dive balls deep into today's topic, I want to remind you that this video is sponsored by Manscaped.com. I'm not the biggest fan of hitting below the belt, but I am a fan of hitting that area when it comes to grooming. And thankfully, Manscaped has created the world's first all-in-one men's grooming kit that has me covered from head to toe. That's right, Christmas came early because Manscaped just gifted your boy with their new performance package. One of the latest additions to this awesome performance package is the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, which I didn't even know I needed, but I'm so glad Santa hooked me up with it. And I can't forget about the new and improved Lawnmower 4.0, which is completely waterproof and cordless with advanced skin-safe technology, so I no longer have to worry about nicking my coin purse. For a limited time only, you'll also get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Like, every guy out there needs to add this to their wish list this season, man. So seize this opportunity now. Go to manscaped.com and use my promo code to get 20% off plus free international shipping plus 2 free gifts. Your body and your jingle balls will thank you. But anyways, guys, as I was saying, we now have official details regarding the gameplay for Marvels Wolverine. It's an aspect that we've been concerned about the most because there have been previous Wolverine games that have done the character so much justice, and we're desperately waiting to see where Insomniac takes their version. But before I talk about that, I want to briefly talk about a new AAA Marvel game that's apparently being worked on by the creator of the Uncharted series. That's right, you heard correctly. Amy Hennig, who served as a writer and creative director for the first 3 Uncharted games, is linking up with Marvel to produce a new video game under her new development studio called Skydance. She's been describing this undisclosed title as a narrative-driven blockbuster action-adventure game featuring a completely original story and take on the Marvel Universe, but she hasn't said which superhero will be featured in the game. Not only that, but there hasn't been a shared release date or even a release time frame, and she hasn't said which platforms the game will be available on. But I have a nagging suspicion that whatever title this is, it will capture that single-player AAA vibe just like that of the Uncharted series. It seems like just yesterday we were waiting for a project codenamed Ragtag, which is allegedly going to be a third-person action-adventure video game set in the Star Wars universe. Amy Hennig was at the helm of the creative development, and we got brief glimpses of this game, and till this day it's still visually stunning. It's like you could tell this was going to be a title that would do the Star Wars brand so much justice, but due to EA not having confidence that a single-player story-driven game could generate sales, they canned the project to focus on Star Wars Battlefront 2. It wouldn't be until a few years later that a game titled Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order would prove them wrong. And thankfully, Amy can further prove that this same approach can be applied to a Marvel game just like Insomniac has with Marvel's Spider-Man and Eidos Montreal has recently done with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a project that a lot of fans initially dismissed since you couldn't fully control the other Guardians members and co-op was absent. But it completely surprised audiences, and some were even touting it as their game of the year. Since it wasn't an exclusive, fans didn't have to worry about being ostracized and having to go out and seek a certain console. It allowed everyone to experience an awesome Marvel game. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that the single-player story-driven formula is here to stay, and you can bet that it'll be applied to more Marvel-related projects down the line. As to what this project will entail or what specific hero will revolve around it, we'll just have to wait and see. What we do know is that Janina Gavankar, who starred in Star Wars Battlefront 2, has announced that she'll be a part of this project. I'm holding out hope that we'll get a Daredevil game, since that's a hero who really hasn't been given a fair shake in terms of video games. He usually makes guest appearances and has only had a movie tie-in game, which was on the Game Boy Advance. So the Devil of Hell's Kitchen desperately needs a solo title to showcase his awesomeness. I don't care if they need to take a few cues from Marvel Spider-Man on the action side and traversals and pull mechanics from Phoenix Wright if they have to. Just make it happen, Marvel. I can see Janina Gavankar portraying Elektra since she looks the part, but we'll just have to wait and see what role she plays in this mystery project. But anyways, regarding Marvels Wolverine, there's been a ton of questions regarding the gameplay as well as the overall tone, because as we all know, Wolverine is the best at what he does, but what he does isn't very nice. Meaning he can hit you with some of those PG-13 moves, but when push comes to shoves, we hitting that R rating with some blood and gore. It's something that fans are adamant that Insomniac puts in the game, especially considering the fact that the studio nails the realism with their Spider-Man games. Even though those particular titles don't necessarily boast hardcore violence, there are a few scenes that highlight that Insomniac is definitely capable of going there. So we want to see that violence dialed up to 11 with Logan. Stuff like blood, decapitation, and dismemberment need to be prominent factors with the gameplay in Marvels Wolverine, and according to these job listings, it seems very likely that we'll get that. Drew Murray, Insomniac's principal designer, recently took to Twitter to share a job posting from Sean McCabe, Insomniac's head of technology, about a gameplay programmer role at Insomniac. Murray chimed in to depict the degree of brutality in Marvels Wolverine when he states that the respective programmer will also be responsible for cuts, slashes, gouges, severs, gashes, stabs, nicks, and everything else that goes with moving and playing as Logan. So yeah, as you hear, Insomniac doesn't plan on pulling any punches or, in Wolverine's case, any slashes. As the job listing suggests, they're focused on giving us an experience of the quote-unquote quintessential Logan, and I have a nagging suspicion that they'll hire people who are big fans of the games like X2 Wolverine's Revenge and X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition. There's most likely going to be an overwhelming amount of detail in the way Wolverine slashes people and miscellaneous objects, and based on some of the essential duties and responsibility requirements, we might even see his signature motorcycle, since it mentions that Insomniac is looking for someone who specializes in traversal systems for third-person character-based games. Even though no explicit bits of information related to this story and world of Wolverine have been given away, the description of this job as a whole tells us that this game is still very early in its development process, and for Insomniac to still be looking for new employees to come in and help create such an integral part of their own version of Wolverine, that indicates that there's still a lot of work left to be done. But what we do know is that the game could possibly be adapting the Patch storyline from one of Wolverine's early adventures in the comics, because the game would take place in Madripoor and we get a brief glimpse of an eye patch sitting beside Wolverine's arm at the bar counter. And we can't rule out the high probability of this game existing in the same universe as that of Marvel Spider-Man, since there have been multiple clues littered throughout both of the reveal trailers. But given how this game will be the polar opposite of that of Marvel Spider-Man, which featured a considerably light tone, it kinda makes me wonder how tame Wolverine will be when the two eventually cross. If anything, Marvel's Wolverine's narrative will provide a logistical reason for players to be executing enemies in such a brutal fashion. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this video to a close. As I said before, we still don't have a definitive release window for Marvel's Wolverine or the aforementioned Marvel project being worked on by Skydance, but if I were to make an educated guess, we could see Wolverine releasing in around 2004, since Marvel Spider-Man 2 is releasing in 2023, which is less than 2 years away, and Insomniac 2's manpower has since doubled after they were acquired by Sony, so I expect things to kick into gear real soon for the bouncing berserker. But what do you think about all of this? Do you think we could be getting something like Daredevil? And do these job listings convince you that we'll be getting a Wolverine game that fully capitalizes on the animalistic brutality of Wolverine? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike this video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve my videos. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. Also guys, be sure to turn on those notifications on your phones. Go to the notification settings for your YouTube app and make sure you enable all the notifications so you don't miss out on any of my uploads. It'll help you and it'll definitely help me on the algorithm side of things. But anyways guys, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.